Mr. Holt, on your disclosure form for the hearing, you have submitted under the question of whether you are a fiduciary of any organization or entity that has an interest in the subject matter of the hearing. You've answered no to that, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Just to clarify, you are the president of the Consumer Energy Alliance. You also are the managing partner of HBW Resources, correct?
Correct.
Which is a registered lobbying firm for CEA.
Correct.
You have no fiduciary responsibility in either of those organizations?
I have a fiduciary responsibility in both those organizations. CEA is an independent organization run by a board of directors that is contracted to HBW to help manage CEA.
So you do not have a fiduciary responsibility in either of those organizations?
In terms of being responsible for the organizations, yes, I do have a fiduciary duty.
So you
You're
do
correct.
have a fiduciary responsibility. Now, in terms of interest in the hearing, CEA has membership of, that includes the American Petroleum Institute, Chevron, Arena Energy, ExxonMobil, National Ocean Industries Association, Shell, et cetera.
Correct.
Would you like to correct your disclosure form?
No, I'm not sure I understand the nature of the question. Consumer Energy Alliance is a 501c4 that is a membership-driven organization. It's got approximately 380 member companies that are members of CEA. All are listed on our website. All our tax forms are listed on the website. So the annual revenues of CEA are public and transparent. The board of directors for CEA runs the organization. The board of directors has hired HBW to help manage that organization.
And HBW receives, from what I'm seeing in the IRS filing, 74% of CEA's revenue went to HBW. You are the president of CEA and you're the managing partner of HBW.
That's correct.
And CEA's revenue comes from?
The member companies.
Which includes the American Petroleum Institute.
And 380 other member companies.
Including
Correct.
Shell, ExxonMobil, and Occidental
But
Petroleum.
I would add to this, for the record here, 75% of CEA's membership does not produce a molecule of energy at all. So they are consumers representing farmers, manufacturers, small businesses, and families all over the country.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our witnesses. I'm glad to be back for our first hearing of 2024. In the words of Yogi Berra, it's like deja vu all over again. Once again, for at least the 5th time in this Congress, our colleagues across the aisle have gathered us here to discuss how the Biden administration needs to do more for the offshore oil and gas industry. Not for the first time, not for the second time, not for the 3rd time or 4th time, but for the 5th time. At today's hearing, we'll hear about how the Biden administration's plan to ramp down offshore oil and gas leasing is hurting our, quote, energy security and economic futures. But notably absent from those arguments are whose security and whose economic futures. Oil and gas companies already control more than 12 million acres of federal waters in the Gulf of Mexico. Over 75% of the lease industry holds remain unused. To my disappointment, it's clear that we will be locked into decades more of oil and gas development, and the United States is already, including under the Biden administration, producing record amounts of oil. Oil and gas production continues to climb in the Gulf of Mexico already, but rather than Americans seeing lower energy prices, as has been the argument, job creation, as has been the argument, or, quote, energy independence, as has been the argument, all we see is increasing profits for oil companies, price volatility for consumers, declining industry jobs, increasing layoffs, and public health and safety crises exactly in the communities where the production is happening. For years now, we've seen the industry lay off its oil and gas workforce. In just the last 6 years, we've seen over 700,000 oil and gas workers leaving the industry due to drastically declining wages and uncertain futures. At the same time, The same oil and gas companies are doling out million-dollar bonuses to their CEOs, spending billions of dollars in stock buybacks to artificially pump up the stock price, and raising dividends for mostly already wealthy shareholders. Meanwhile, the industry's social and environmental impacts are left out of the conversation. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, offshore oil and gas accounts for nearly 20% of carbon emissions from federal lands and waters. And my colleagues across the aisle argue that offshore drilling in the Gulf is cleaner and safer than abroad. But as my colleague Mr. Huffman likes to say, that's like arguing filtered cigarettes won't cause cancer. We're already living with the dangerous consequences of our reliance on fossil fuels. Just last week, the United Nations released its annual economic outlook for 2024, and in it, economists warn that the climate crisis and extreme weather as a result of oil and gas production are expected to disrupt global food production and exacerbate economic instability around the world. Communities along the Gulf Coast must constantly grapple with the consequences of oil spills, air and water pollution, land loss, and displacement. The relentless pursuit of profit has led to the degradation of our resources, jeopardizing the health and well-being of American citizens. Again, we must ask, who is the offshore oil and gas industry serving, and who is it leaving behind? It's time we ramp down and phase out fossil fuel production on federal lands and waters. It's necessary to stave off the worst impacts of the climate crisis and create a more equitable future where everyone has the right to live free from pollution. Our coastal communities can transition in a way that supports jobs and cleans up the environment. Ports are already supporting the offshore wind industry with more opportunities to come. The policies we debate here can help or hinder that transition. We must make sure our federal waters are part of the climate solution instead of the climate problem. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses, and I yield back. The other thing I'd like to follow up on as well is HBW is also registered that they lobby directly for oil and gas interests like Louisiana Mid-Continent Oil and Gas Association, correct?
Say that one more time. What was the organization?
The Louisiana Mid-Continent Oil and Gas Association.
Yes, we have a member on staff that does work for LaMoga. Yes.
So the filing is that you are not a fiduciary of an. I'm just trying to clarify. You're the managing partner of a lobbying firm that has oil and gas clients. You are a witness today as a CEA, but we are seeing no disclosure of that in the documents for this hearing.
Again, I'm not sure I'm following your questioning here. I have a fiduciary duty as the president of CEA to manage CEA to the best of my ability. I'm trying to fulfill that on a daily basis. And the CEA membership, which is largely made up of consuming entities all over the country, I also have a fiduciary duty to a certain extent extended through CEA to all those organizations.
Okay, and why was that not, but why was your answer that you did not have a fiduciary, whether you were not?
I think I probably interpreted that question of, do I have a financial stake or do I own stock or something in one of these companies, which is, I think I answered it correctly.
We can explore that. We'd be happy to make sure that we get that updated if necessary. Thank you very much. I yield back to the chair.